Ms. Kerner?
Yes, my lady.
Thank you.
Lady,
Yes,
if I
yes,
may
sir.
report back, the recording is really faint, but we will be able, should it be necessary, to correct it with a double recording. But what we have also what we have done was to move a microphone to the vicinity of the door. That would, I believe, address that issue.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, my lady. Colonel, just before the adjournment, you explained the basis why you testified that the shots were fired first and then it was the cricket bat hitting the door. And you specifically referred to the crack that ran down and then to the hole and then down at a different place.
That's correct, my lady. And if I just quickly draw this little diagram here on this piece of paper to show you what I'm referring to. If you look at the bullet hole on the furthest to the right, and I hope it's visible from there, but there's a crack coming into the bullet hole, or a piece of wood that broke, and the breakage was into the bullet hole on the right hand side of the bullet hole. And then the crack goes out on the left hand side of the bullet hole. And that is why I said the bullet hole was there before the panel was broken. Because if it was the other way around, the crack would have been in a straight line. Because it happened like this because of the bullet hole, that the crack going down initiated in a different position.
And I think that once you've done the rough sketch, but I think it should go in as an exhibit, otherwise the record would reflect a piece of paper. My lady, maybe if we mark it as exhibit Y, we will see that copies be made. It can be handed up.
Exhibit?
Z, my lady.
Z, yes.
Colonel, you can make. I can tell you that the expert on behalf of the defence fully agrees. He says that at one of the many features that will show convincingly that it was first the shooting and then the hitting with the bat and the breaking of the door. That would be your evidence as well.
That specific crack, yes, was after the firing of the bullets took place.
I'm sorry to go back to some extent, and it was just because the recording was really faint, because you moved away. Tell me if I fairly summarize some of your evidence. Your evidence was that you're of the view that you can replicate the cricket bat marks on the door when standing, but your objection to that would be that you did not deem that to be the expected and natural position.
That's correct, my lady. That's what I said.
And I'm fortunately not female, so I can ask you just to draw a comparison between the physique of the accused and you. What is your length?
As I said earlier, I'm 1.79 meters tall, my lady.
And your weight?
Fortunately, I'm not a lady, so I do not weigh myself often, my lady. But I expect it to be around about 90, 95, maybe 96 kilograms.
Yeah, will you agree you have a very different physique to that of the accused?
Indeed, my lady. As I look at him, he's a bit taller than me, and he's got a little bit less weight carrying around with him.
Now, Colonel, I see in the statement that we have in our possession by Lieutenant Colonel Lenong, I see the wooden splinters of the door in photos 6 and 7. I would just ask the State's assistance. I'm not too sure that those photographs were handed in as exhibits as well. It may perhaps be on Lady, what I propose with the undertaking again that I will show, it's just to show a photo, and I will show it to the court, and we will see that copies be made and it be officially handed up, just not to waste time. It's not about this statement, it's just for the two photos, if you would not care to look at that. And you'll see a lab number there that will maybe assist you. Because I was asking you earlier about the whereabouts of the missing pieces. And there we can see them. You see that?
I see there's pieces of wood there, yes, my lady.
Would you care just to hand it to the court to be seen? We will see that an exhibit, it would be AA. We will make copies of that. Okay. Of two photos in Colonel Lenong's statement dealing with the pieces or the splinters. But my understanding of your evidence is that you did not have access to that.
No, my lady, this is the first time that I see these pictures. It's the first time I see the splinters or the pieces of wood, call it splinters, whatever.
Colonel Lenong, where is he stationed?
He's also working at the Forensic Science Laboratory. He's, however, in a different section. He's working in the trace analysis section. It's also part of this bigger scientific analysis section, but we do different subsections.
And it must be just unfortunate that you did not get those pieces, because my understanding it would have assisted.
Well, as I said, it's the first time that I see it now in this picture. I did not speak to Mr. Lenong regarding his analysis, so I do not have any knowledge about what he received.
And you also said that you asked about the whereabouts, but could not get any answer that would cast light on this.
Yes, but I must state that I did not speak to Mr. Lenong because I did not know that he might be a source of information.
I want to, if I may ask the State's assistance on the photos, to go to photo 480. Not that album, it's photo 480. It's part of your report.
That's correct, my lady.
You have the photo there in front of you?
Yes, I do have.
We just wait that it goes on screen. What do you see on that photo?
My lady, on this photo, I see the door. I see the markers on the door, the cricket bat, the angle I suspected to be, or that I matched to the door with, as well as I think this was Mr. Mangena.
You can go on.
Oh, there's some pieces of wood next to that.
You see the pieces of wood?
I see it now, yes, my lady.
So you had them?
No, I didn't have them.
Well, you're not there at the scene.
I was here at the scene. I didn't pay attention to that. And I actually didn't see it. I must have overlooked it, my lady.
But it's right next to the door.
Yeah, it's not next to the door. You can see there's the door is standing against some shelves. And if I look at this picture, it seems like it's between the shelves. At the time of my investigation, I did not see them, my lady.
Well, let us look at this on this photo. We know that you assisted in assembling the door.
That's correct, my lady.
We know right next to the door we have the, let me call them the missing pieces of wood, splinters.
That's correct, my lady.
And you say to this court, and it's right next to the door, that whole day you did not see them.
That's correct, my lady. I did not see those pieces of wood, otherwise I would have looked at them.
How did the door come to you on that?
It didn't come to me, my lady. I was informed by Captain Mangena that he was busy with the investigation and that the door would be available to me in the basement where he was busy with the investigation, and I went down to see him. So the door didn't come to me.
When you arrived there, what did you do? Did you help to assemble the door?
As far as I can remember, the door was already in this position, my lady.
So they assembled the door for you?
I don't know who they were, but yeah, whoever.
You were not involved in that?
Not in this assembling, no, my lady.
And you just so happened not to see the wooden splinters there?
Yeah, well, that was an oversight of myself, my lady. As I said, if I look at the picture here, it seems like the plastic, or if it's a plastic, it was between the shelves, and I did not pay attention to that stuff because there were other stuff in the room as well, which I did not pay attention to.
We're talking specifically about a crucial piece of evidence, the door. So we're not talking about other stuff. We talk right next to the door, the pieces.
My lady, I can only comment I have about this. I did not mention, or I did not see the pieces there.
And when you went through your report, because that's part of your report, did you look at the photos?
I did look at the photos, but the important thing for me was the angle of the bat in this photograph, my lady.
I understand. Every time looking at the photos, you did not see the pieces of wood, splinters?
No, my lady.
You will agree by just looking at a photo, it's not difficult to see it.
Well, now it's it's obvious if you know it's there.
Yes. When did you go to the scene for the first time?
The first and only time I went to the scene, my lady, was on the 8th of March 2013, if I'm correct, and I will just confirm it in my affidavit. Yes, it was the 8th of March, my lady.
We'll come back to your evidence that you went back to the scene on the 8th, and also to some documents, a revisit of the scene. You say you weren't at the scene before the 8th of March?
No, my lady, the 8th of March of 2013.
13, I mean.
Yeah. That was the only time I visited the scene, my lady.
You were also asked, if I look at documents, to test any material on the door. Is that so?
Is that pertaining to the...
Just the door, yeah. For materials analysis. What does that mean, materials analysis?
Materials analysis is our section. I'm working in the materials analysis section.
Yes. On that door, and I'll ask you to go to the door. There is a microphone, and if you will, please, Colonel, if you speak, would you mind to speak in the direction of the ladyship?
I will do so.
And try, I'm sorry to ask you that, to speak up then a little bit. You see a mark, you see where the handle is? And when you go down, there's a distinct mark. Yes, you're pointing to that distinct mark. Have you investigated that?
My lady, I did indeed look at that mark, but I could not find anything that convinced me that that mark was due to the cricket bat, and that the cricket bat actually caused that mark. And I've testified to this already in my...
You solely focused on a cricket bat?
The request at that stage was for me to focus on the cricket bat to determine whether any marks on the door could be linked back to the cricket bat, my lady.
Of course, on behalf of Mr. Pistorius, we will present evidence that that mark was caused by the prosthesis kicking that door or making contact with that door. And the fabric of the sock was in fact still embedded and found, and varnish of the door on the prosthesis.
On the prosthesis. As I said, my lady, I could not link it to the cricket bat, so that's why I only elaborated on the first 2 marks that we spoke about this morning.
Now, is it significant to you that there's a mark caused by the prosthesis, and we say to you, kicking on that door, kicking by Mr. Pistorius?
My lady, if that is indeed true, that it's a mark caused by the prosthesis, I guess it is significant, but it was not investigated by myself. We must also remember that the pieces of the panel were ripped out in the process of breaking open the door. So that mark on the panel could just as well have originated from him walking over that piece of panel when he was trying to get Ms. Rivas Steenkamp out of the
do you seriously contend that mark can be caused by walking?
My lady, walking, it was kind of a deurmekaar situation in the bathroom there. I can imagine him trying to get Ms. Steenkamp out of the bathroom was not an easy job. And if he had his legs on, he could have fallen over the piece or whatever. And we are speculating now. So I'm just trying, by speculating, I'm just trying to show that the fact that Mr. Pistorius says he kicked the door is not the only possible reason for that mark appearing on the door.
I'm trying to understand when I tell you that's the evidence on behalf of the defense. It is the fabric was tested, the wood was tested, the prosthesis was tested. They all match.
If that is the case, my lady, I can imagine that there were transfer of exhibits from the prosthesis onto the door at some stage. But when, I would not be able to say exactly when it happened.
And of course, it would not make sense, and I mean well when I put the question, to kick the plank when it's lying on the floor.
My lady, kicking, he could have stumbled over the plank. We must remember he testified, or in his version of the events, he picked Ms. Steenkamp up and he carried her down from the bathroom down to the foyer. So he could have stumbled over the plank. You can imagine, and again, this is speculation, but it's just to give some light on a possibility. The planks were laying, the pieces of wood were lying on the floor there in the bathroom, and him trying to pick up Ms. Steenkamp, he could have stumbled over it. So that's just another version. I don't say he didn't kick it, but what I'm saying is that the kicking is not the only possible source of that.
Let's look at stumbling. There's a plank on the floor, I stumble over it. I'm trying to understand how that stumbling over it could make an indentation in the wood, in Maranti. We'll bring a plank and we'll ask you to stumble 100 times over it, okay, and I will say there will be no mark.
Okay, and 100 times the indentation would be the same as that, because it's not actually indentation. I described it this morning as a seems like two pieces of whatever objects grabbed or were forced against each other, but it's not actually an indentation that similar to what the cricket bat would have caused.
Can I ask you a favor? Will you go and take a plank and stumble over it and bring it back and come back in evidence and show me a mark that can replicate that? Will you do it afterwards? And we can do it under controlled circumstances, because I tell you it cannot be.
Yeah. Well,
I see you laughing, and I think there's
when you kick that door, my lady, there's a certain amount of force applied to the door. When I carry someone and it's heavy and I stumble over and I kick the plank with my toe or the heel or whatever, stumbling over it, tripping over it, what do you want to call it? you can very easily get the same amount of force applied to the piece of wood than what the instance would have been.
But of course, if it was kicked in that position, it will tell you one thing. It's a process trying to open the door.
If that is the testimony, and if it can be proven that he was actually wearing his prosthesis and that he was kicking it, it's possible. What I think what also must be tested would be to see what the abilities is for Mr. Pistorius. I would not be able to testify on how high he can lift his leg, the exact movements he can make with his legs. But I agree, if it can be proven that it was kicked and he can reach that high, it's fine.
What does it then mean in that case?
It means in that case, the only thing that I can deduct from that, and if it's proven that there's material similar to the prosthesis on the door there, to me it means there was contact between the prosthesis and the door or the plank, and some transfer took place. That is what it means to me. Because nowhere is there any evidence to me at this stage that can confirm that he actually kicked the door, except for his version of the...
I'm working on his version. I don't ask you to accept it unconditionally. But you would only kick the door when you want to break through the door. You want to get into the toilet. Otherwise, there's no need to kick it. Not so?
I guess so.
Yes.
But you will also only stumble over the door or the piece of wood if it lies on the floor.
Yes, we've dealt with the stumbling. Now, I'm trying to find out. The state had the prosthesis, the prosthetic legs. The state had the socks, the markers on the door. Was anyone asked to investigate that? And who would that have been?
My lady, as far as I'm concerned, no one was asked to investigate the possibility of the door being kicked down. I did receive the prosthetic legs at my section. I was asked to look at the mark on the shin of the one prosthetic leg to try and determine what the cause of that damage to the prosthetic leg was. I could not determine the cause of that, and I suspect that it was not a recent mark; it was an old mark. But nowhere, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, where anyone requested to do analysis to link the prosthetic legs with kicking down of the door.
I'm trying to understand the police and the investigation. You see marks on a door. Would someone not be asked from the forensics department to look at those marks and try and find if there can be given any explanation for them? I don't know, I just need to know how it works.
Are we talking about this specific mark?
Marks in general.
Marks in general.
Marks in general.
Yes.
Furthest to the right, and I hope it's visible from there, but there's a crack coming into the bullet hole, or a piece of wood that broke, and the breakage was into the bullet hole on the right hand side of the bullet hole, and then the crack goes out on the left hand side of the bullet hole, and that is why I said the bullet hole was there before the panel was broken.
Testified that the shots were fired first and then it was the cricket bat hitting the door. And you specifically referred to the crack that ran down and then to the hole and then down at a different place.
That's correct, my lady. And I just quickly draw this little diagram here on this piece of paper to show you what I'm referring to. If you look at the bullet hole on the, because if it was the other way around, the crack would have been in a straight line. Because it happened like this because of the bullet hole, that the crack going down, initiate it in a different position.
And I think that once you've done the rough sketch, but I think it should go in as an exhibit, otherwise the record would reflect a piece of paper. My lady, maybe if we mark it as exhibit Y, we will see that copies be made. It can be handed up.
Exhibit?
Z,
I think
my lady.
Z, yes.
Colonel, you can make. I can tell you that the expert on behalf of the defence fully agrees. He says that one of the many features that will show convincingly that it was first the shooting and then the hitting with the bat and the breaking of the door. That would be your evidence as well.
That specific crack is.
Ms. Kanya?
Yes, my lady.
Thank you.
Lady,
Yes,
if I
yes,
may
sir.
report back, the recording is really faint, but we will be able, should it be necessary, to correct it with a double recording. But what we have also since, what we have done was to move a microphone to the vicinity of the door that would, I believe, address that issue.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, my lady. Colonel, just before the adjournment, you explained the basis why you